Hey, hope you're doing well. Today we're actually going to jump right into 3 things nobody's telling you about in the real estate industry. I'm here with Hans Stone. He's with Blueprint Home Loans. Hans has 20 years in the business. I have 20 years in the business, so combined 40 years experience, and it's coming to you today with some great info. The first thing we're going to talk about, I guess everybody's waiting to hear what's happening with the Fed meeting next week. So what's a secret, or what's something that people might not know about?
Probably the most important thing that folks don't really realize right now is everyone's waiting for September 18th for the Fed to cut the rate. And the reality is mortgage rates have already cut. Mortgage rates have dropped. But that's because mortgage rates, they're going to follow the markets, and the markets always move ahead of the Fed.
Okay. So what are rates today? Like what's the interest rate somebody can get today?
So the average this morning on a 30-year fixed was 6.16% on a 30-year fixed.
Wow.
And a 15-year, I believe, was a 5.67.
Wow. Okay. So you heard it first, right? Rates under 6% for 15-year and just over 6% for a 30-year mortgage. All right. So we just heard about the first secret in real estate right now, that rates are already dropped ahead of the Fed. The second thing we're going to talk about is actually something that I recently learned about, which is the spread. Tell us a little bit about that and how it affects mortgage rates.
This is kind of one of those back office secrets, right? I talk too much about. So what we're looking at is, when we say the spread, it's the difference between the 30-year fixed rate and the 10-year Treasury. At its peak, it was about 3% difference between those two. Right now, we're about 2.6%, and over history, averages about 1.5 to 2%. You might be saying, well, what does all this mean? Well, what this means is, as the 10-year comes down and starts to drop, the 30-year fixed rate will also drop. Today, where the 10-year is, the 30-year should be lower than it even is today based on the historical spread. So the spread will decline as the economy starts to settle in. So right now, the spread has widened because of uncertainties in the market. As the market calms down, spreads will tighten. We'll see mortgage rates come down even further, and it has no factor whatsoever to do with the Fed rate decisions.
So I know rates had peaked at 8%.
They did, yeah.
And the Fed funds rate is pretty much where it's at today.
Exact same place.
Right? And so I guess what you're saying is, as the markets have normalized,
correct,
as risk has gotten lower,
exactly,
so has the spread.
So has that spread, and so has the 30-year fixed rates coming down with the 10-year Treasury, because the 10-year Treasury has come down quite a bit. 10-year Treasury got up to 5%. We're now about 3.67%, I think. So as the 10 comes down, you can see the mortgage rates are following the 10.
Right.
And as that spread reduces, mortgage rates will come down even further.
So essentially that means the Fed doesn't have to reduce rates, and mortgage rates can still continue to come down.
Absolutely.
So that's your second secret. The third thing we're going to talk about is how you can get a rate lower than the rate we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
So I was flabbergasted. Hans told me that there's a way you can get a rate in the 5s and in the 4s and possibly even in the 3s. So I'll let Hans talk to you about that.
Right now, because we talked about earlier how the markets are starting to calm down a little bit, now we can buy down the 30-year fixed rate. We can buy down that interest rate with very little cost and bring that interest rate down into the 5s. Now, here's the second option. We have a promotion right now we're running. We are going to buy down the interest rate for 1 full year by 1 full percentage point. So if your starting rate is 6.1, we're going to buy it down to 5.1 for 1 year.
And you pay for it?
We paid for it. 100% we paid for that.
Well, you heard him.
Now, here's the second option. Because this time of the year, we have more inventory. Housing moves a little bit slower. Seasonality, right? The time of the year. So we often see that sellers are more inclined to give a credit to the buyer. So now we can go with what's called a 2-1 buy down. The seller has to pay for it through the same program as the 1 year. But they'll buy down 2 percentage points. So now, year 1, your interest rate could be 3.8%, 3.8.
Wow.
Year 2, 4.8.
Okay.
Year 3, through the remaining terms, the remaining 27 years, 5.7%.
Or if rates have come down further than they're at right now, which we anticipate, then in that 3rd year you can refinance.
We can refinance after 6 payments.
Okay.
So you don't have to wait the full term 3 years out. You can refinance after 6 mates. And any of those savings that you are going to gain from that step down buy down, we can take that savings and apply it towards your principal and lower it. So you don't lose out on those savings, even if you don't stay into it for the full 3 years.
Right. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, those definitely are three things that you're probably not going to know about, because I didn't know about some of those things. So hope you enjoyed that information. Hopefully it was valuable. If you are thinking about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, give me a call, give Hans a call. We'll make sure you get the very best interest rate. Hans also mentioned something I wanted to talk about is inventory is kind of getting a little bit higher. So now we have more homes to choose from. That's because of a couple things. One, more people are putting their homes on the market, but because the upcoming election and the end of the year and seasonality and so forth, things typically take a little longer to sell. So again, sellers are more excited to sell. We negotiate aggressively, so we'll be able to help you get the very best terms and price, and with Hans's help, the very best interest rate.
That's right.
So there you go. So hope you enjoyed the three things that nobody's telling you about real estate. Again, if you have questions, reach out to us. We'd love to help you.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.